Hey, it's Terry, your favorite no bullshit artist and business coach, and you're listening to Terry Talks, where we discuss all things taboo, uncovering art industry nonsense, grounding you in confidence and leadership to run an arts business with unwavering power and grit. Hello, hi, welcome back to Terry Talks. I have been meaning to record this episode for quite some time, but I am here. We're doing it. I'm going to try and use a little ASMR voice. I've been listening to other podcasts and I'm like, damn, they've got that like nice soft touch. So we're going to try this out today because I have so much energy pretty much all the time. And I am also extremely passionate about all the topics that I talk about on this podcast. So today's going to be a little bit different. I like a little spice. I like a lot of spice. I sent out an open call for some Q&A questions for this podcast, and I want to spend some time diving into this one particular question that was emailed to me that I know is going to hit home with a lot of you. For any artists who are listening right now or any creatives who are listening right now, I think this is going to be super down your alley. And if not, is going to prepare you for a potential situation should you ever be in this position. And it has to do with the gallery artist relationship. So before we get into the question that was asked by an artist, from your couch to my couch, from your chair, from your studio, from your office, wherever you are, maybe it's your full-time job. I want to thank you for your support, your friendship, your collaborations, all of your just like general conversation. I've been on Threads and it's just so weird, like what conversations come up, like just random shit comes up on Threads. And I feel like sometimes people get much more easily heated on Threads than they do on Instagram. I don't know if that like happens to other people or has been like something that you've noticed on Threads, but it's easier to get into attack mode. And I've noticed that since I've been like a little bit more active on there. I was never on the Twitter train, and I feel like Twitter gets real spicy. So it might be like a little bit more like that. That's something I'm just not used to. There's like more debates and there's more like, I don't know, like daggers going out on Threads. So, but it's been fun. I'm not hating. I actually really like it. And I really want to thank the people who have followed me on Instagram from Threads. I love that people are coming home to the mother base because that's where I hang out. Beyond that, in the everyday world, you all continue to inspire me. And without that, I wouldn't really be able to make my career come to fruition without all of you. As a fresh podcaster on the scene, it makes even more just of an impact if you subscribe and rate the episodes, because that info is really what vets me. It's essentially a referral for artists who may not have found me otherwise. So definitely make sure to hit the subscribe button and give it a 5-star rating if you enjoyed this episode. All right, let's dive in, baby. So the question that rolled into my email was, I'm going to read this verbatim. What can I do on my end as an artist to help push sales of my artworks at a gallery? The gallery is doing a terrible job at promoting and selling my artwork, and the show closes at the end of May. So let's say a month from today. Is there anything I can do on my own? Quote, end quote. And this is going to be an anonymous episode. So I'm flooded with thoughts when I hear this, because I've heard some great relationships and collaborations through the gallery world. And I've also heard some horror stories. So I've definitely seen the pros and the cons. Obviously, post-pandemic, everything has, shifted in lots of different ways for selling your artwork virtually, virtual exhibits, people who have given up their physical spaces. And so those situations, of having work lost or not being paid or so slow sales or exclusivity rights has definitely changed. But the basis of the gallery and artist relationship has not changed. It still needs to be a marriage made in heaven that could stand the test of time, because you're both doing something that hopefully is going to make you a shit ton of money at the end of the day, right? The gallery needs you. You want the gallery. You don't need the gallery. Remember that. Always remember that. Stand in your power. So I wrote down a couple of bullet points, and I don't want to go too much on tangents because I can easily do that when it comes to this type of topic. I am the neutral ground. When I am advocating for my clients, obviously I am looking out for their best interest. I am always, for the most part, going to be on their side. I'm going to make sure that they're advocating for themselves, that they're showing up as a leader, that they're being as professional as possible, but they are also holding up their boundaries. And those boundaries could be set in a contract. Those boundaries might be communicating like, this is what I'm okay with and this is what I'm not okay with. But if we don't do that part, then we run into lots of different problems and a lot of passive aggressivity and a lot of unspoken words. And then bad relationships can really just come out of what could have been an amazing situation for you, an amazing connection and partnership. And partnership is really the key word. So I'm probably going to use that a lot, because you should never be in a relationship with someone when the root of that relationship has to do with something you're incredibly passionate about, that your life revolves around, that your hopes and dreams and visions and goals really rely on. You want someone to be on that exact same fucking page as you. So the first thing that I want to say is some preventative work. If you are getting into a relationship with a gallery, you met each other at a party, you had a mutual connection, whatever the beginning of this marriage had started out as, the courtship, I like to call it. Right. You want to assess that relationship, right? Off the bat, what's the vibe? Is it too casual? Is it too professional? Is it just right? Does it feel natural? Does it feel like it could be an organic, partnership? Does it feel like it could go somewhere? Okay, awesome. We want to set up a call, right? We want to set up something legit. We want to set up a meeting, a coffee, maybe a walkthrough of the gallery and the space to like really see what this person has to offer. Because yes, they also are offering you something, but you are offering something that they would not otherwise have if you didn't actually have artwork to present to them, right? So again, standing in your power as an artist is just number one. And when people talk about the starving artist mentality, like that shit is such bullshit unless you stand in that. If you fully believe that, then a gallery is going to run you right over. They're going to take advantage of you because they have a business rep. They have a business, to run and to make sure is being, profitable just the way we are. So we need to also like uphold those ethics. So technically, if this relationship is, a good one, it should stand the test of time, right? There should be no end. So at the end of, the show or the 6-month, gallery stay, there should be really no ends. Both parties will want to continue to make money together, right? And so the relationship from day one to day 100, should be, it's never going to be seamless. No relationship is seamless, right? We go through ebbs and flows. We have emotional moments. It's heightened, intense feelings when it comes to something so personal. We want it to be perfect, whether it's an opening or a closing or sales coming through or sales not coming through. Like all of this shit's going to happen, but it really comes down to like how you both handle it, right? Are you blaming each other, or are you both actively seeking out a solution? So that's number one, assessing the relationship before, during, and at the end of that partnership. The number two, the second thing is communication from day 1 to day 100. It should be consistent and clear, and especially when it's quiet. So when things are quiet, you should be communicating even more to seek out those solutions. There should never really be a dull moment when both of you aren't reaching out to each other. And the reason being is that touch points and momentum and clarity and alignment should be communicated throughout the process. There should never be like a, where the hell is this gallery? Or why haven't they reached out to me? Because it's also your job to be on top of your projects. And so we can't play the martyr if we are someone who is an active participant, right? Yes, we are giving the gallery a commission to do something that they are responsible to do, which is the marketing and which is the outreach and which is bringing in their own collectors and their database, right? Something that we might not have access to, right? And being, of course, in a physical space. Right? We want that visibility. But if those things aren't there, then you're actually not paying them for anything, because not anything that you could do. Not anything that you couldn't actually do. So those are a couple of just thoughts on communication. If you feel awkward communicating with your gallerist, that's a red flag, because that should have been assessed on day one, right? You need to be assertive. The way that they're going to show up, you need to be showing up 200% so that they believe that you are not fucking around. And I think that in society, artists oftentimes will take a backseat because we want these opportunities. And we feel like people are, granting us these things, but we've also worked extremely hard for them. They're not something that we have just been sitting back, laying, lazy on the couch and not been actually working towards. I had a client the other day who's having a solo show this weekend. It's her first solo show. And she said to me, I can't believe that this is finally happening. And I'm like, why? I can believe it. Your work, your body of work thinks otherwise. Your body of work has been developing and being ready for this moment. So just to kind of keep those words of wisdom in mind. The third thing that I want to mention is contracts. I get that it can be a touchy subject for many. I get that it can be out of your comfort zone or something that you're not familiar with, but it's very important when you are working with an institution outside of your sort of company or, outside of your, network. And it's very, very business oriented, and it involves money and it involves your precious artworks, that you have a contract in place. Every little thing that shoulda, coulda, woulda happen should be laid out in that contract. And if they don't have one, to me, that's a red flag. But then you get one so that you can back your ass up fully. So do the most is what I'm saying. That's another level of professionalism. If I showed up to a meeting totally unprepared, that person can A, bulldoze me, B, take advantage of me, or C, look at me as an unprofessional little twit that, has no clue what's up from down. And that's not a good look. They may not even want to work with me. But if you show up and you're like, here are my things that I can propose, here's what I can offer you. And now I'm asking, like, how can we make this beneficial for the both of us? What are you looking to offer me? How can this partnership be seamless, right? You're showing up and you're like ready. And that means that they're not going to bullshit you, and that they are going to believe like, oh shit, she just came with her A game. Like they are going to look at you in a very different light. It's the difference between showing up to an interview dressed like a slob or, showing up like nice and clean and put together. And all of that makes a huge difference on the way that people treat you. And so you may think like, oh, that's never going to happen to me. They're never going to steal my work. They're never going to not give me a payment within a month. They're never going to, just flake on marketing my work. But in this case, this question is saying like the gallery's just been shit and she's got a month left. So what can she do in those 30 days? And I love that question because she's now taking matters into her own hands. So these contracts should include the marketing activity, what they're proposing that they're responsible for, what you're both responsible for. Because again, it takes two to tango when it comes to utilizing their space for visibility, marketing, and sales, and them actually using your artwork and your talent to make those things happen. It's a two-way street. In the end, you can't control what other people do. People are always going to be shit. They're going to show you something different on day 1 than potentially on day 30. And you have to be prepared for that. And so I love the question because it's saying, how do I show up in the next 30 days in a way where I can potentially make a difference? Because that's the only thing that you can do. In the next 30 days, this artist should be making a difference with their own aggressive marketing plan. And listen, I use the word marketing plan, and that sounds maybe a little bit like too corporate-y, but it's the only way that I can think about like really kind of moving the needle as quickly as possible. You can do a couple of things, right? If they're being shit, like I don't know the relationship between this artist. So I'm just kind of making a general assumption. If they're being an asshole, if they're not communicating well, they're not doing any of the marketing, they're not holding up their end of the bargain, you can try and renegotiate the terms of the contract. Hey, I'd love to pull my work early. It doesn't seem like this is working out. How can we, move forward with terminating this partnership? That's number 1. You can obviously, depending on the severity and depending on how you're feeling about it, take your shit out. Like you can go sell your shit somewhere else and not have to give anyone a commission. People are doing that every single day on Instagram, right? End early. Or you can renegotiate the terms and lower the commission, right? Hey, we're not really making any sales. I'm not sure how this is going to go down, but it's now impacting my business. And I thought things were going to, maybe look a little bit different. Here's what I had expected, right? So really laying this out. Now, everything should be in writing. Everything, no matter if you have a phone call again or a FaceTime or a meeting or you stop by the gallery, you want to make sure that everything is documented, because if, God forbid, this person becomes like even more of a scumbag because you're starting to like advocate for yourself and step up and say, hey, I've noticed X, Y, and Z. And people hate when you fucking notice things. I mean, they hate it, right? People get defensive and people aren't always as reflective as some other human beings. And so we have to, not just like move with caution, but we have to move with, intelligence, and we have to move strategically, because at this point, it's not an emotional relationship. It is a fucking business relationship. Okay. It's a business relationship. I'm running a business. You're running a business. That's one thing we have in common. Okay. And so, yeah, it might be uncomfortable, and you can practice on your friends and you can talk to family, and maybe you can talk to somebody who's in the corporate world who might, be able to navigate some difficult conversations, but it doesn't have to be a confrontation. I don't think that every single challenging conversation has to be a confrontation, because what you're looking for in the end is a solution that's going to impact the both of you positively. And that's something where you can come from that place, right? Your emails should always come from a solution-oriented place. At the end of the day, the answer is always no if you don't ask. So in terms of, maybe you don't want to terminate, maybe you don't want to renegotiate. Your job at this point is to use every single fucking platform that you are active on, that you have, any kind of like outlet that you have, to ensure that you are publicizing and marketing the shit out of your exhibit. So posting on Instagram, and in stories as much as possible. In stories, it should be almost daily. In posts, maybe three times a week, right? And you're repurposing your content because you're repeating the same thing, right? You have this exhibit and you're showing tidbits, and you're going into the gallery and you're, doing some virtual, showings, and maybe you're showing your studio, and you're really getting people to want to come to this thing. Next is, if you have an art show closing, it's going to be even more important for you to ramp up the marketing and emails and all of those things and invites, and put it on Eventbrite, and put it, maybe in a local newspaper that often has like free classifieds, and really just like searching for all of these outlets on nextdoor.com. And maybe if you're on Facebook, I'm in a ton of like local Facebook groups, and just like saying, hey, I've got this opening, it's free. There's some incredible artwork, and just kind of making your own path and making your own marketing. Get into Canva, do 2 or 3 promo items, and then just keep repurposing those things. So the marketing can definitely and technically should be on both parties, but obviously, in an ideal world, the partnership between the gallery and the artist should equally be like, here's what I can provide for you, and here's what they can provide from you. And they should have an email list. They should be making sure that they do those email blasts. But of course, there's always going to be, a learning lesson that comes out of all of these things. And you have 30 days to really just be as active as possible and take things into your own hands. And that is the best outcome that you could ask for right now. So I actually am wondering, and this person who emailed me, I'd love to hear how this all turns out. If you have a similar question, feel free to email me. If you are in a situation where you need some one-on-one support, you can book a call with me immediately so that we can dive in and give you a real stern action plan that you can follow and just get you to a better place, because this shit happens all the time. And unfortunately, there are probably more sleazy galleries than there are really honorable ones that, just are super, there for the artists and love their artists and want their artists to be as successful as they want themselves to be at the end of the day, because that is what makes an amazing relationship. And you would not want to let that go. And they will then introduce you to more people. So there are those people out there. It's about setting the stage for this type of relationship, because it's so nuanced. It's not like any other relationship that you'll ever have. But I hope that this really covers a lot of ground. I hope that this gives people who are in tough, gallery artist relationships and a little bit more insight into how to navigate the waters. I hope that the waters aren't so cold. And if you have any more questions, feel free to just comment at the bottom. I hope that I hit the mark and was able to shed some light into what can be an intimidating sort of territory, but it doesn't have to be, right? It's very important for us to step up as the boss, because it's your artwork. It's your fucking zone. It's your shit. Right. And no one else can take that away from you. And so you shouldn't allow anyone to take that away from you, regardless of what you think they're offering. Yeah, they're offering you some white walls. That's amazing. But what else can they offer you? Right. I've got white walls in my apartment that you can use, but it would be about, sorry, my phone just fell. It would be about what the optimal outcome would be to fucking sell out your show, man. Would be to rock it, would be to have a full open house, would be to have the most activating and engaging networking event. And if there's something that you would like to add to your closing to make it even more celebratory, to enhance the incentive to buy your work, then absolutely do that. If there's no exclusivity and you can still sell out those pieces outside of the gallery, hit the ground running, right? But you do want to maintain the all of the rights that are in the agreements, in the terms, in the contract. You want to be very careful in acknowledging all of those things so that you are in the clear at all times. And, if anything should happen, you're like, I'm good. I'm covered. I followed everything and I did the best that I could. So thank you for listening to another episode of Terry Talks. I appreciate you so much. Hit the subscribe button, share this episode with somebody else, and just spread the love. Don't keep me to yourself, because I know that there are so many other artists out there who are looking for deep-rooted support with someone who fucking gets it. I get it. I get it, guys. I'll see you soon. Follow me on Threads. Hit me up on DMs on Instagram. I'm there every single day. And of course, all my services are laid out on my website. I've got those new done for you services that you can check out to see where those gaps might be, and where I can take off some of the heavy loads, because being an artist and being, playing all these roles does get overwhelming, and we don't want anything being we don't want any areas where the ball is being dropped on something super important that could propel your arts business in the right direction. So stay tuned to the next episode of Terry Talks. Appreciate you. Thanks for listening to another unfiltered episode of Terry Talks. I've also got some free resources on my website that will help make your life a lot easier as an artist services or apply to work together. Before you go, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and sign up for my newsletter for more art industry information. See you on the gram.